Welcome back again to Getting a Grip on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Mike Maddox, your host. I'm so glad to be here. I'm glad you're listening. This program is all about EOS. EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a way of getting vision, traction, and healthy into your business. And I'm really happy to have as my guest today, David DeJonge. David's the president of Behler-Young. And you shared with us in the first segment, David, about the company, your core values, your three uniques, what you're all about. Tell me, and you may mention that when you documented your core values, you didn't create them, you documented them. That's part of the EOS journey. Let's talk about how you landed on EOS. How did Behler-Young come to implement EOS?
Sure. About 6 years ago, our chairman of the board brought the book Traction back. And I had read Traction before, and it was very, very intriguing, but I thought, you really need the right kind of discipline and accountability in a company to really implement it successfully. And the chairman wanted us to read the book. And so about 6 years ago, we as an executive team sat down, and EOS journey is not always initially easy, right? It's not initially
absolutely.
easy. So there was
I like to say, by the way, to interrupt, I like to say it's incredibly simple, but not incredibly easy.
Correct, because it is like a mindset change, a philosophy change in some respects, because there'll be some people that will be like, we can't do that. We can't do that. Yeah. And there'll be others that will jump aboard right away. And that goes from not only your executive team, leadership team, but all the way through the company. So it was really first getting your top executives on board that, yes, this philosophy, this simple philosophy can work at a company at our size.
Yeah. So as goes the leadership team, so goes the company, right?
Exactly.
It's where it starts.
So we chose EOS about 6 years ago. It's been, I'll say, revolutionary for us. Like I said, not only did it help us define the core values and really what makes us unique, but it really put in a structure of, I'll call it, discipline and accountability. We had that, but it really amped it up even more. It really has, I'll say, been an incredible positive effect on the company. So
yeah, it's interesting. We were talking on the break, you and I, about your core values and how as you implemented EOS, and you're right, it's a journey. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, but that you see the impact daily. You were talking about the core values and how you can walk around your shop and you hear staff members talking about good isn't good enough. It needs to be great, one of your core values. And you'll hear and the same thing I've heard at Convergence and ASK before that, when I was running those companies, you hear those core values reiterated by your staff. That's when you know that it's beyond the leadership team, that it's infiltrated the company and it's being followed by all, and it's empowering. Yeah. Once you get it to that point.
But you have to know that, the team members have to know your top leaders have bought in. Because if they don't think you bought in, they're not going to buy in.
Yeah, it's not a fad. It's not some business theory that we read. That's what fascinated me about EOS too, is that I, like you, most of us and most of the listeners out there probably can relate to this. We've read Good to Great and Scaling Up and Built to Last. And we read all these books, and I would come back and I'd be like, okay, how do I implement that into my business? And all EOS does is take all those great ideas and put them in an operating system that you can grab onto and you can get behind and you can implement.
Correct. And then just following the practices.
So did you have an implementer when you put
did? We were so blessed. Gino Wickman, who wrote the Traction book, his first implementer's name was Don Tinney.
Don Tinney's a legend in EOS.
Don Tinney lives an hour south of me. So he was my implementer for the first year before he graduated us and said, Dave, I think you can at this point lead the meetings from this point on. So
yeah,
Don really, he really makes your head think, and really about what's happening in your business that you have to take care of and formalize and structure. Because EOS, obviously, as you know, Mike, is Even in the book, it says it's made for companies like 50 employees or less.
Yeah.
But we have 280 plus. The philosophy can work at any company. It could work at a Fortune 500 company. It's the philosophy and discipline that's created through the system.
I'm so glad you touched on that, because that's a myth. As an EOS implementer, I hear that all the time, that EOS really only works for small businesses, small entrepreneurial companies. And while it is an entrepreneurial operating system, that's been my experience as well. It works at Behler-Young, 280, 300 employees. It works at Convergence, where I'm president. We have 250. I've seen it work at countless other companies that are much larger than both of us, because it is a philosophy, it is an operating system, and once you're bought into it and you're structured along it, it doesn't really matter what size you are. The concepts are the same.
Yeah, and one thing that we did probably 6 months after we implemented at that point, it was called Traction Tools. It was a software to help facilitate that. Now it's called Bloom Growth, and EOS has now come out with their own, but we use Bloom Growth to help facilitate our weekly L10 meetings, and it keeps that structure consistent.
Yeah, and I would highly recommend that too. And we're out of time in this segment, but Traction Tools, 90.io is the one that EOS Worldwide is partnered with now. They did start their own, but then they ended up with a strategic partnership with 90.io. It's just an online software that helps you implement it and get traction around it. So if you're listening and you are on EOS and you don't have a tool, I would suggest checking out 90.io. We're coming back right after this. Don't go anywhere. We've got more to talk about, lots more stuff to get to. So stay with us and we'll be back after the commercial break.